I got the gig with Vai. I moved to Los Angeles after college because I always wanted to go to Guitar Institute of Technology, Musicians Institute. And I told my parents I was going there forever. You know, ever since I started playing guitar, I would always see the MI ads in guitar magazines. And I said, I really want to go there, you know, because it was in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles was the, you know, the whole entertainment capital of the world and everything. And I wanted to go after high school. But my parents said, you know, that's probably not a good idea because I graduated high school at 17 and they figured I was a bit young and irresponsible, and of course I was, you know. I couldn't even make eggs at the time. You know, I was lucky if I could put together a bowl of cereal. So I went to college first, and then done with college at 21, and I said, okay, now I'm going to MI. And they were, yeah, you're done with college, do whatever you want. So I moved out to LA, and the day I got there, I went to the school. I got there like a couple weeks before school started to get a place and just get situated. I went to the school and I was just looking around and I noticed a job posting board right by the entrance. And I started thinking that it would probably be a good idea to start to meet people because, yeah, the business is who you know. So, and there were hundreds of these little pieces of paper like this that just, you know, for different record companies and any kind of aspect of the music industry had a posting there of distribution or management or label or anything. And I just found this little one that kind of was just right in front of my face, and it said, small entertainment management firm seeks intern, typical office work, make your own hours. Here's a fax number, send your resume to this number. It had no names or anything. But that's what I was looking for, a smaller place that I could make my own hours with because I was there for school. I wanted to be playing and practicing mostly, but just to get my foot in the door and start meeting people, get a good intern that could make my own hours. So I faxed my resume that night and got a call really late, like close to midnight, which I thought was unusual. But the phone rings. And it's a woman. She says, "Hi, is this Dave Weiner?" I said, "Yeah." My name is Ruta Sepetys. And when she said that, I kind of recognized the name because it's not a very common name, Ruta Sepetys. And I was like, I know that name, but where do I know it? And she, went on and introduced herself, and she said, I got your fax, I got your resume, and I just wanted to call and talk to you a little bit. And she started telling me about the company and some of the artists she manages. And the last one she said, she's like, and I also manage a guitar player named Steve Vai. Do you know who he is? And I was like, oh, of course I know who he is. So I got the internship and just, did office work, fulfilling orders for merchandise for some of her clients and getting lunch and getting the mail and running paperwork here and there. And I would run paperwork to Steve every once in a while. And every time I'd meet him, he'd call me a different name, which was funny. But, I didn't care. This was Steve Vai. And, over the year, Steve and I had gotten to know each other, not incredibly well, but he eventually got my name. So that was the start. And I mentioned to him that I was doing a demo at school for a couple of my friends that were in the recording program. And he's like, oh, give it to me when you're done. And I was like, okay. I didn't really think anything of it because it's like giving a demo to Steve Vai. I get him all the time. And, I didn't know how it was going to sound because friends of mine who were students were doing it. So I don't know if it was going to come out well. So gave it to Steve. Didn't hear anything for weeks. And I was like, he'd probably just, listen to it. Yeah, whatever. And I remember being in Ruta's office on a Friday late during the day and was ready to go home, and the phone rings, and it was Steve, and Ruta picked up, and she starts talking to Steve, and she's looking at me, and she's got this really weird look on her face, and she's like smiling, and just I could tell something was really weird. She was hearing something that was just really, setting her off. She gets off the phone and she's like, Dave, you're not going to believe this. And I was like, what? She's like, Steve's talking about taking you on tour. I was like, whatever. I just didn't believe it. She's like, no, really. He needs somebody to go on tour and do some assistant stuff and do, playing. And I was like, well, okay, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I get home. I drive home from Ruta's office back to Hollywood, and I get an email. I check my email, and there's an email from Steve saying, I liked your demo, come join the band, and here's the list of songs to learn by Monday. And, I was just completely freaking out. Well, Steve has taught me so much over the last couple of years because, as I said, I came right from school. And I've never done anything professionally. I always had bands growing up, and I had a band in college, but never did anything professionally until I stepped right out of school over the weekend and walked into Steve's band. And from there, over the last 8 years, Steve has indirectly taught me pretty much everything I know about the music business and how to grow as a player. Because he doesn't have time to sit down and say, well, you should do this and you should do this, because he's so busy himself. So being a sponge, I said I'm going to learn everything, and Steve kind of pushed me that way in the very beginning. He, on the very first tour, he said, go watch the lighting guy and see what he does. Watch the front of house guy and the monitor guy and see what the techs are doing. And I was my own tech for the first couple tours. And it was great because now I have such a respect and appreciation for what it takes to put on a tour. And the other aspects as far as the management side of things and managing your own musical career. Because it's really difficult. Obviously, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Everybody would love to do what they love, and many people love music or acting. It does, whatever. You really have to. It takes a lot to do this. I have friends who have 9-to-5 jobs, and they say to me, "Man, you are so lucky. You don't have to get up and go to work. Punch in here and clock out here." And to me, I'm like, what are you talking about? I have to work from the time I get up to the time I go to bed every day to make progress happen in my career. Nobody's going to hand it to you. You really have to have a good head on your shoulders and think in short-term goals over a long-term period to figure out where you want to go and what kind of player you want to be, and what do you want to be in a band, do you want to be a solo artist, and how are you going to make that happen. And so Steve has taught me all of that just by being around him and seeing how he handles himself professionally and on a business point of view, and personally with friends and family and fans. He's really been a great mentor and has taught me so much that I've been fortunate enough to put out a record and get on Steve's label and keep things progressing every year towards a nice musical career. And I love Steve for it, because a lot of guys just wouldn't take the time, they wouldn't share their insight, because Steve is always open to sharing his insight on any matter, and it's just really great. And I'll go back and say what I mentioned about the fans. It's been great to see how Steve treats fans, because it doesn't matter if he's standing out in 20-degree weather, in the pouring rain. Steve will stand there and sign everything that everybody comes up to him with, and that's really important. And I know if I see something about an artist that I can read an article or see him on an interview or something, and just get to know that person a little bit more, and you like the person, I'm more into the music or whatever their business is. I'm more into them and their product that way. So I just feel, seeing Steve be so kind to his fans, because they are ultimately the people that give you the career. So I'm, learning those kinds of things from Steve have just been completely, priceless. One of the things I love about the show is actually our little huddle before the show. Every day somebody does a little benediction before the show, and we all just, get in a circle and do a little huddle, and that's really cool. Because as we go through a tour and, just life happens, so we're reading the news or seeing it on TV, and whatever happened last night during the show and whatever's happening with the people around us, we kind of, it makes you think, and we put that into our little benedictions, and it just makes us really, close. And it's just such a nice, family kind of feeling. It's not just, okay, I hired you, and you go up and play your parts. We're friends and family, and you're reminded of that every day before the show.